What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Insane Disappearances. I'm your host, Lamech, and today's stories, I have at least three. I thought it was going to be two, but it's actually three stories. Well, actually, let me see. I believe. Oh yeah, three stories. Total of three stories, and it's going to be centered around Lake Michigan. Now, in that area, there's a part of Lake Michigan that is known as the Bermuda Triangle of the Great Lakes. Okay, now this is like a combination of interconnected freshwater lakes. Now, these lakes are Lake Ontario, I gotta make sure I get that right. It's like 5 different lakes here. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Seriously? This thing wanna act up now. Oh boy. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. It's a series of freshwater lakes, interconnected freshwater lakes. Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and Lake Ontario, as you can see here on this little video. Sorry for the glare, guys. It's really sunny outside. It's kind of hard to get around that. Let me see. There we go. Trying to do this without blocking it. Okay. Yeah, there we go. These are your freshwater lakes here. And I've also said before how these lakes combined look like a very weird looking dog with a huge nose at the very end. I've always said it ever since I was a kid when I was going to school. Excuse me, when I would look at the maps, in class. But anyway, these lakes are located in the northeast region of the U.S. on the Canadian and U.S. border. These areas connected would be the Manitowoc, Wisconsin, Ludington, Michigan, and Benton, Benton Harbor. Now, to start with, in 1891, there was a boat called the Thomas Hume. It set across Lake Michigan for lumber with a crew of 7 sailors on the boat. This boat just seemingly vanished without a trace, and it was never found. And there's never been any kind of information to come up about how it disappeared, where it disappeared on Lake Michigan. And there's never been any wreckage found. There's never been anything found under the water like how you would find it in the actual Bermuda Triangle between Cuba and Florida. Now, it's also been said that boats and planes disappear in good weather. And there's also talk about how the electrical systems and the navigation systems seems to go haywire, just like in the Bermuda Triangle, where all the other planes and boats disappear. Now, in 1921, it was a boat or ship called the Rosa Belle. It had 11 crew members on that boat, and that disappeared. It was found later overturned on Lake Michigan, and they said there was damage to the ship, some like from a collision. But no other ship ever reported an accident, and no other wreckage was ever found. So how that boat ended up with some type of collision damage on the boat, we'll never know. It could have been maybe they probably ran into a submerged UFO, and they call those I forgot. I think they call those SFOs, submerged. But anyway, it was like an underwater UFO maybe that crashed into it, underwater as it was probably about to take off into space. And I think there have been stories of underwater UFOs in Lake Michigan. I'm not sure. I have to look into that, but that could be what it was. It was probably some underwater UFO that crashed into it or slammed into it as it was about to take off into space. So, okay, now this story is a very big story in Lake Michigan. This was a very famous one as well. It was about a Captain George R. Donner. Now, he was the captain of a ship that he actually piloted through icy waters. This happened around April 28th of 1937. And I see it was said that he vanished from his cabin. Now, how that came about, we'll never know because he was never found. But to start off with, after guiding his ship through icy waters, he was exhausted from all that. So he retired to his cabin and he gave instructions to be awakened when they reached an area called Port Washington. Now, 3 hours later, when they were about to reach their destination, one of the crew members went down into the bowels of the ship to fetch him, only to find that his door was locked from the inside. So other crew members came along after he told them that the door was locked from the inside, and they couldn't. He obviously called out his name, but he never answered. So they thought maybe he had a heart attack or something like that, or whatever the case may be. So the other crew members broke into the room only to find that he was gone. He vanished. Now, in cases like that, we're talking about ships from 1937 and back. Those kind of ships had portholes, and that was the only way to view the outside. And we're talking about portholes which are round, just like the windows that would be on a plane. Now, if of course I'm pretty sure everybody knows what a porthole looks like. Now, a porthole is a round window of a certain size. Now, that certain size is probably no bigger than my head alone. So anybody that would try to make their way through a porthole, they would never make it, because a person cannot fit through a porthole, and if they were, they would have to be one heck of a contortionist. I'm going to show you some images of a porthole. These are images of portholes on boats. Okay, now there's a picture of it from Google, and I can show you what it looks like. It'll show you the size of the person and the porthole itself. Okay, see that? Now that's a porthole. Now, looking at that porthole, you can see that the person can probably fit through it. So I'm not going to say that you can't, but the fact that he would actually jump through it, knowing that he was exhausted and he should have been asleep, that still is a complete mystery. But he was never found. They searched tirelessly for him, and he was never found at that point. But it was just the fact that the room was locked from the inside. I mean, the door was locked from the inside. Now, they are different sizes, I believe, different sizes of portholes. So I would imagine that particular porthole was probably smaller, than he was. And if you look at the sizes, there are different sizes. There's smaller sizes and there's big sizes. So for him to actually disappear without a trace, I would imagine that the porthole on his ship was actually smaller, so he probably could only fit his head through it. And I'm pretty sure that porthole was probably no bigger than my head. It is round, so the space between my chin and my collarbone all the way up to the top was probably no bigger than this. So but the fact still remains that he was never found. I mean, I'm pretty sure they searched the waters as well to see if he jumped out of the porthole window, but they probably saw that it wasn't big enough for him to even get through. So he just vanished without a trace, and no evidence of him has ever been found. So yeah, very strange stuff going on all across the world. And it's not just like, and as you can see, it's not just something that happens in national parks, national forests, or urban areas, or even rural areas. They happen across the ocean as well, just like I said, the Bermuda Triangle. So that's why I wanted to add that to the video, so that you can get a good idea that disappearances, very mysterious and strange disappearances, happen all over the world in all cases, whether it be water disappearances, where people be on ships or on planes, like Flight 19. That those roll planes have never been found. They have never been found. Now they have found rows of planes underneath the, in the water, under the, on the ocean floor, in the area where they thought that they would have disappeared. But looking at the serial number on the planes of Flight 19, it didn't match the numbers that they had as far as a record of Flight 19. Now I'm thinking, now this is just a theory, now I'm not saying that it's true, but I'm thinking that, knowing that these are government owned planes, these are pilots from the Air Force of that era in the 1950s or 1930s, I'm not completely sure what year that was, but I would think that, let's just say, yeah, okay, they disappeared. Now, we all know that the government is very big on keeping secrets. They're very big on keeping their information on a tight grip, especially if we're talking about top secret information, or just the names of their military men alone. Now, if you think about how the Green Berets seem to always show up at the national parks looking for whatever it is they're looking for, you cannot get that file because their names are classified. So maybe Flight 19 was a classified row of planes and crewmen. So if you are trying to get the information on those crewmen, their names and their planes alone will probably be classified even at that time. So if they feel like they found those planes, yet the serial numbers match, they probably changed the numbers in the record so nobody wouldn't try to find out if that was them or not. Why, I'll never know, because I would think that them flying from point A to point B wasn't a top secret thing. They were probably just running some sort of test, maybe. I'm not sure. I forgot exactly why they was actually out there in the first place, but they somehow got lost, and their navigation system went haywire because of the magnetic field that probably flows around that area, and they ended up crashing because they thought they were going in one area but they was going somewhere else. So that alone is another another mystery, and I'll probably make a video about that too one of these days. So, but yeah, that's my time today on those videos. It's a pretty short one. It wasn't going to be real long. I could probably go into a story about a person who disappeared in a national park, but that would take time for me to get the information. So I will have to look that up, and I will, of course, post another video hopefully tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, I'll post another one Tuesday because I'm off on Tuesday, so I have all day to do that. And I'll try to make sure I get one in early instead of later on at night. Because I try to post my videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So if I do one Tuesday, it'll probably be close to the morning hours, like maybe midnight. So that way it'll be up and ready for Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, or whenever you guys are going to watch it. But yeah, so yeah, those are some pretty weird stories, because literally these people just vanished without a trace, in an entire boat, just like in the actual Bermuda Triangle, between Cuba and Florida. But yeah, Lake Michigan is a pretty weird place as well. So, and I've heard of these other areas, and they call those vortices. These are these pockets of energy that have actual weird goings on in those areas, where planes disappear or ships disappear. And they said that when something is happening on the other side of Earth, like say a ship disappears in the Bermuda Triangle, if you were to drill a hole in the Earth, in the area where the Bermuda Triangle is, and you come out on the other side, something happens over on that end as well at the same exact time. Because I did hear about that. Well, a person called into Coast to Coast AM, where he said that there was a record of a ship that disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle, and on the other side of the Earth, in the very same, like I said, let's just say you drew a line through the earth from the Bermuda Triangle and whatever area is on the other side of the earth. Something happened at the very exact same time where someone had disappeared, like say in a national park or something like that, you know, and it happened simultaneously at the very same time. So there is a weird fact in all of that, that the earth alone is just one big mystery. It has these pockets of energy that make strange things happen, or people just disappear into oblivion, or they probably get transported to another time, another earth that is parallel to this one, another dimension, another reality. I don't know. Maybe it gets transported to another planet where there is life and they could actually breathe and coexist. But that right there is a complete mystery, because we really don't actually know what is happening to these people. Now, what happened to Captain George, Donner? Did he just seemingly vanish without a trace and end up somewhere where he had to live his life, in a strange place that he wasn't familiar with? I would hope that he's still alive, as well as the other people that disappeared. So for you to just say that the man is dead just because you don't know what happened to him, that's really not what I'm shooting for, because I have to believe that these people are still alive. I have to, because if you just disappeared mysteriously, there's no cause of death in that. You just disappeared. Now, for people to actually believe anything other than that, that's on them. But I believe that these people are being transported somewhere else, under their will, not by their own will, but they're being transported somewhere, in a way that's not under their control. So, yeah, that is a pretty strange situation there. I could sit here all day and talk about that and try to figure out what happened. Just like with Captain George Donner, the crew members of that schooner or scooter ship, the Thomas Hume. They literally just vanished, and so did the boat itself. So maybe they were on the water and they went through a wall of energy that transported them to another time, another dimension. I don't know. It's strange enough as it is, so you have to believe that something weird happened, and you have to believe that the outcome was weird. So obviously they got transported somewhere. Think about the Philadelphia Project, where strange things happen on that ship alone. They didn't disappear alone. Well, I don't know if they disappeared, but there are photos of these men being fused with the mass of the ship itself, where you see parts of their body hanging out of the floor of the ship, and the other half is inside the ship. And it all they was trying to create some sort of cloaking device, and it turned into a situation where the ship had been cloaked, but their bodies, I think it only happened for a few seconds, and their bodies ended up fusing with the ship, because as the ship disappeared, they somehow became intangible. The ship became intangible enough for them to, actually pass through solid mass. And then when the ship coalesced again, into a solid mass, their bodies was just stuck there. And I think I showed you photos of that situation where their bodies fused with the ship, where you can see part of their bodies hanging out of the ship, and the other half is inside the metal itself. And I think I did have some pictures of that. I might have deleted them since then, but give me just 1 second. Philadelphia Project. Let's see. Okay. I want to get actual pictures of this, because they had here we go. Okay, these are actual photos, I believe. You can see here, and they had like a side-by-side comparison. The last time I actually took a picture of this, where it was actually in black and white, but this is what happened to one of the crewmen of that ship where part of his body was actually inside the metal of the ship. Okay, let me see, because I want to find actual photos of that incident where you saw parts of their body, because I think that photo might have been a photo of a movie, a movie set. So I'm gonna try and see if I can punch up actual photos of that, because like I said, they had side-by-side comparisons of movie version and the actual photos of these crewmen fusing with the ship itself. So, let me see, here we go. See, this is another one right here. You can see the crewman is actually fused with the ship. Well, part of his body is hanging out, and the other half is, well, the biggest portion of his body is hanging out, but his legs and his hand is actually fused with the metal of the ship. So it was crazy, So that one on the far right of the person standing upright up against the ship, that was an actual photo of what happened, during that time when they put the Philadelphia Project in action. So I never thought that they actually had photos of the actual incident, but because you can see the side-by-side comparison. But anyway, like I said, that's my time on these stories. I'm going to start on a new video when I come home tonight for tomorrow. Like I said, if not tomorrow, Monday, I'll post another. I'll try to get one in Tuesday, for Wednesday, or just do one Tuesday and I'll just probably do another one Wednesday, and then do another one Friday if I got the opportunity, because payday Friday is actually kind of hard for me to make a video, because I'll be out pretty much the entire morning and half the evening. Sometimes I don't get home until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll be having so much to do. I got to drive and all these different places. I try not to do, because of my job, I try not to do any kind of transactions online, because that actually creates a problem for me to get paid at my job, because I work for the government. So I'm not like a government, military, but I work for the federal government. So but anyway, yeah, that's my time today, and like I said, I will be posting videos later on this week, so don't fret. So gotta go. Aloha, mahalo, and ahuiho. Peace out, guys.